Hello, everybody. I want to take a moment and dive into where the intervention section is in STEMScopes and kind of talk about how you can use that in different ways. So, again, I'm going to go to place value. Y'all know I love me some place value. So, you do have this intervention tab right here. When you go into the small group intervention, it has everything that you could possibly need. So, it has the student handout right here for the activity. Here you have your place value mat, of course, but it's all there. But I really want you to pay attention to a lot of the things it does. So it really does go through and kind of walk you through some of the misconceptions kids would have. All the questions are there. It really guides you through anything that could come up. You may want to add some more questions, especially if you know there's something like, oh, they missed this. And if you notice they missed something, please send it to me. They also have, if you want to use, there's a teacher checklist here, so you can just keep track of, what you see and what you don't see with kiddos. But I want to dive into this checkup. Okay, so one of the things when we're talking about intervention is, of course, you want to look at the data that they have in STEMScopes and see, but I also want to see when I have kids face to face in front of me, what are they doing? So for me on this checkup, when I look at this, I'm like, at the end of the lesson, I can't see giving all 5 of these questions to kids. That's going to take a long time, and I really need to maximize the time I have with kids. So for me, when I look at this one, my thinking is I'm going to have them do 1 and 2 as a pre-assessment, and I really want them to dive into these 2 questions and see what do they really know, and just show me, because there's little misconceptions that could come up right here. I mean, I think about the second one, expanded notation. They might write in expanded form. So there's a few different things that could happen here, but I could really see some misconceptions kids have, and that could guide me with my instruction and what I really need to hit on. So, and then of course there's an answer key here, and we have them in English and Spanish. So that's one thing. But another thing I want to show you that I think will help a whole lot with intervention is under this elaborate. So a couple of things that are super cool. They're all these fluency builder games. So when I look in here, I can see all these fluency builder games. A lot of times, kids just need to practice these things so that can build that fluency. So you'll find this here. Also, this interactive practice, the little money machine, just getting more exposure. We know kids sometimes that we have to do intervention with, they just need more touches. This little money machine, it's a fun little game that kids can play just to give them some more practice with place value. Okay? I'm going to go out of here and I'm going to go into scopes for a minute because I want to point out something else. So one of the things that we know a lot of times with kids for intervention is that they struggle with fact fluency. So fact fluency and just numeracy in general are big areas that a lot of times we know that kids struggle with. And so I want you to see what you have here to help. So when I go out, I see this 3rd grade daily numeracy. So daily numeracy, so if you want to know where I found it again, I'm just going into my scopes and daily numeracy, 3rd grade. It's right at the top for me. If it's not at the top, you can always go into your scopes and you can go into your topics and you can go to Texas Math and anything in Texas Math, and that's pretty much where I am. It's going to lend me back here. So I'm going to dive into this Texas numeracy, daily numeracy. So right here, it kind of talks about what it looks like in the classroom. And so there's some ideas if you're thinking, what could I do with that? I absolutely love this sentence stems to really get, and you can print these out to help kids with just articulating their thoughts. But even more is that we have all these different activities. They're right here. So I don't know, we'll say same or different. We'll look at same or different. So really here, it just kind of guides through what would this be. And all you want kids to do is really just notice and wonder. These are straight numeracy activities. I also put all these numeracy activities in the URG. I'm going to send them out to the coaches so that they can share them with you again for numeracy activities. I'm also going to put a link to numeracy activities in the s'more. So there's just a lot of good stuff we can do with kiddos. And the more practice they have with numeracy, the more they're just going to understand numbers in general. Because when we get to computation, a lot of times what we realize is our kids don't understand numbers well, and that's why they're struggling with the fluency and even with understanding their facts. So here we also have the fact fluency for multiplication and division. Okay. So let's just see here for like 4th and 5th grade. What I love here is that let's say I want kids to practice with their 3s. When I go in here, there's different stations. So fact fluency station 1, I can pull this. This could be an activity that I have kiddos do. There's a student journal page. So you already have somewhere for kids to record. And this is really getting kids to truly understand the idea of multiplication. And they're going to build conceptually. So we're going to start out really, really concrete, and then we're going to move to the abstract so that they understand what they're doing. And so it goes beyond just memorizing, but we're truly developing an understanding of, okay, what is 5 times 3? What does that actually mean? So these are all here. Again, when I go to my scopes, I have my daily numeracy, my fact fluency for addition and subtraction, my facts fluency for multiplication and division. When I go into an actual standard, into that scope, I can go to the intervention tab. There's a whole intervention lesson there for you. For math, remember for intervention, we also have our Region 4 closing the distance. Those are on campuses. If you don't know where one is, let me know, and I'll make sure that I get on campus and find out and get one to you. The other one that's really good is just the Region 4 Engaging Mathematics, just quick little activities that hone in on what kids need to do. So again, if you're worried that one of those is on the campus, just let me know and I'll make sure that we get one in your hands so you can start looking through some of those things that you might want to use with kiddos. So with that said, I'm going to take a little pause and I'm going to let Nicole take over and kind of talk about the same thing but for science.
Okay, so again, just like Carrie was talking about for STEMScopes Math, STEMScopes Science is very similar structure. So I'm going to take you through, if you're choosing to do a science lesson, where you'll find activities to support you with your intervention lesson plan. So the first spot that I want to key you into is on your lesson plan. You're going to want to do some type of pre-assessment to see where your kids are coming at with their previous knowledge from the learning. So I would like you to go ahead and look underneath the Explain tab. There's a progress monitoring assessment. So this would be a good opportunity to utilize 1 or 2 of these questions and provide these to students. And I would take them and pick one that has a good stimulus so that they can show their thinking around it and remove the answer choices so that you can see really where they at in that current understanding and transferring that to 2-dimensional items. So this would be a good place to pull some of those items for that pre-assessment. So you've got several to choose from within that progress monitoring assessment. So again, that is underneath the Explain tab, and it's going to be this progress monitoring assessment right here. Now for your actual lesson, you're going to go to the Intervention tab, and you're going to go to the Guided Practice Activity. So when I click on it, just as in math, there's a lot of support for you to help you plan and facilitate this activity. So it's going to give you a description of it, the materials that you need, the procedures, and then it's also going to give you some guiding points. So as we think about what are those misconceptions that our students are coming with and how are we going to make sure that we address them. And it also gives you some guiding questions. So great facilitation questions to support the learning of our students right there. There's also an accompanying student handout. So as we think about how they want to have them demonstrate and show their learning. And the great thing about this is there's a lot of visuals. So again, helping them annotate those visuals and showing their thinking around those different stimuli there. So after they finish the activity and you guide them through that learning and addressing those misconceptions that they have, the last piece that we want to do is then do some check for understanding. So on your activity, you also have a concept attainment quiz. So within that, I like this one a lot because it does a quick check for vocabulary. Did they get that vocabulary? Some open-ended responses to really see what their thinking is. So this is a great way. Again, this is a lot, so I wouldn't pick all of these to do, but I would pick one or two of those activities that you think would best demonstrate to support the demonstrating of their understanding with that. One thing that I do want to go back to is that vocabulary book. So after that pre-assessment, there is going to be an opportunity that we want you to do some vocabulary practice. So here's where I would pull that vocabulary, that key academic vocabulary that we want to use, and go to that Leap Forward strategies playlist and look at those rehearsal and practice activities, and utilizing these academic vocabulary to create a rehearsal and practice activity for them to play a game with it and really reinforce that vocabulary. I know they really like Play It, Say It, vocabulary dominoes. Those are great games to just help reinforce, and they feel like they're playing a game with that. So that will be what you have to support you. And again, if you've got some other resources, another place, if we're talking about fifth grade, we also have the STAR Review to Go activity. So if you think that there's something in there that addresses the concept better, by all means, that would be also a great resource to utilize within our intervention small group activities with our students. So again, after you go through this, look at, you do have that lesson planning template to plan your instruction, and then you'll submit it on the form button. All right, thank you so much.